Sniffles, and Pluto. We're going to take a 2-minute break, and we'll be back with Sally cragin.
Hi, I'll wait till folks get seated. Thanks a lot for coming, you all. It's real nice. This is a story called One Night with Miriam. Miriam and I are going to Maudie's to see the pickled trout. We are dressed in our favorite clothing, jeans, beetle boots, and leather jacket for me, Air Force jumpsuit and flight jacket for Miriam. Scant months later, my friendship with Miriam has evaporated, but that was later. On the night in question, we're best buddies, pals palling around the not-quite-decadent underworld of rock and roll clubs. Not quite decadent because on this night, at 10 p.m. at Antonio B's, we get to run into Richie, or the Birdman, or any of the other chowderheads who sleaze around with tiny, overpriced packets of drugs in the front pockets of their stiff leather jeans. Not that I would let any of them hear me talk like that. I have a charge account with the Birdman. That is, he lets me pay him later if I don't happen to have a 10 and 10 and 1 5 on hand. In a club, say Maudie's, Miriam would be assessing the band's equipment while the Birdman and I huddled over the fanzine-strewn cigarette machine. "I can write you a check," I'd offer. The Birdman, so called because of a crest of bleached hair that bobbled above his beaked face, would look into the middle distance and then casually realign the stack of magazines. "Don't worry," he'd reassure. "The first one's free." "Oh, you've heard that?" "Well, fuck it. I don't have a bank account. Actually, are you going to the Leather Boys on Thursday? Catch me then." He'd touch his grubby index finger to his temple and pretend to shoot me. "Pow, pow, Phoebe," he'd whisper in his phony cowboy drawl. I'd scoot into the girls' room and unfold his paper packet. In a club, you can never tell if somebody's shorted you. For one thing, there's always a line for the stalls, so you feel obliged to hurry. For another, the lighting sucks. As quickly as I could, I tapped the pile of powder towards the centerfold of the packet and jabbed tiny piles into my flared nostrils with the chewed spoon end of a big pen cap, thoughtfully secreted in my own front pocket. Like the Birdman, I came prepared. Miriam was an unusual club compatriot for me. She'd been friends with my friend Trish, and after Trish followed her rotten boyfriend to New York, Miriam and I slid into each other's lives. We didn't know each other very well, but seemed to have enough in common, late-night endurance and a fondness for live music, for a while. Miriam doesn't do drugs. She rarely drank. She's half Korean, and alcohol sends her on the loop-de-loops. I took Trish's departure harder than Miriam did. I really missed her. Trish and I had evolved a natural intimacy over the years. Just after Trish announced she was leaving Boston, she predicted I'd develop a crush on someone hours before I did. After so much time together, her prescience didn't astonish me anymore, but I appreciated it. By contrast, I was finding out that Miriam had perception, but never about the right things. For example, she never caught on to my relationship with the Birdman, and it took me some time to suss Miriam's little quirks. This, I know. Miriam likes musicians, subcategory drummers. She is learning how to play the drums, and the bass, and guitar, and wouldn't be half bad if only she'd practice and loosen up. Until that moment arrived, Miriam faithfully called me on Wednesdays to plan our midweek to weekend club-hopping jaunts together. I was willing. I edited a local music fanzine and liked to party at night. So we traded off. On a given evening, we check out Miriam's pick. Her taste ran to glib, techno-pop hackers like the Shining Knights. Then we'd go see my selection, delinquent headbangers like the Weasel Eaters or the Deranged. Because of my status as subculture journalist, wherever we chose to plan ourselves didn't cost a nickel. Miriam hates my kind of band, loud, inarticulate, amateurish, fevered, but she thought there was prestige in being my non-paying +1, so she endured the cacophony. Miriam's tight with $1 unless she could invest it in the cause of her career. For example, if her favorite band, this month a quintet of top 40 goobers called Touchstone, were booked on the weekend at Antonio B's, she'd happily cough up the $5. She liked schmoozing with roadies and soundmen. Miriam wanted to be in a band, and she was convinced that the way she'd join one was to chat them all up. Strew compliments like cigarette ashes at closing time. Never mind the audition. She'd be accepted on the grounds of her not inconsiderable chutzpah. "I think they need someone who can play syndromes," she'd say as I yawned through Touchstone. "I was talking to their manager. He just started with them, and he said that Jamie wanted a fuller dance sound. You know what I mean?" I'd swallow my boredom and encourage to go for it, as Miriam gazed in rapture at the spandex-clad clowns on stage. "No, I'm really sure," she'd continue, cracking her knuckles while the beer I bought her went stale and warm, neglected on the stage-side bar. "The manager, Rocky, says there aren't enough female drummers in town, and I know I'm better than that guy." Here she cocks a hitchhiker's thumb towards the stage as the touchstone rhythm section bows sweaty heads into their instruments. I endure a gooey solo from the lead guitarist as Touchstone wind down their set, the second of two. Gad, how do I let this woman drag me to bands that play 2 sets a night? I gulp my beer suds as Miriam scowls at the stage. Terrible, she pronounces. Can't keep a beat if his life depended on it. I have been bored by Touchstone ever since hearing a tape they sent to the box office number of the fanzine, Let Me Into Your Love Pants, or some crap like that. All synthesized riffs and not enough of those, I recall, but I keep my criticism to myself. Arguing with Miriam on aesthetic points is stupid. Besides, we tolerated 90 minutes of Touchstone's heartfelt croonings, and now we're on my clock. I lean over. Their encores are going to take forever, you know, I say. I'm not trying to be malicious. We're not that cozy. At 28, Miriam still has chinks in her armor, so she says, Maudie's? I smile silently and contort my mouth into a Cheshire cat leer. Miriam reaches for her bottle, swirls it around, and replaces it on the bar. She knows not to ask me if we're on the list, so I try to lead her out of the club. Oh, I didn't say goodnight to Rocky, she protests. Never mind, I say. If he doesn't remember you by now, you don't want to be in this band. I guess. She acquiesces and lets me push her out the door, a rare instance of physical contact. From Trish's gossip, I know that Miriam occasionally revs up her sexual drive. Like, if she wants music lessons, she'll drag some drummer back to her apartment, Trish said. Miriam bought her Simmons drums after a season-long sojourn with Dirk, the former Touchstone percussionist. The first time I visited her red-controlled hovel, she proudly pointed out the gleaming red drum kit planted center stage in her bedroom. There's something about hanging out in clubs that makes for instant intimacy, so Miriam assumed I knew all about Dirk already. Instead, she tried to convince me that the extravagant Simmons ensemble was an investment. There's a whole different way of practicing with syndromes than with acoustic ones, she said knowledgeably. You have to wear headphones and remember that less is enough. Ever agreeable, I nod and silently wonder what her one-night stands make of her living quarters. When she's out and about, Miriam is tidily, stylishly dressed. Eyeliner sweeps up to her temples, and she's never without cross pen, a dress book, mace, and makeup stowed in her favorite black patent leather evening bag. But in her flat, chaos reigns. 6 glazed enamel tables are stacked in pairs against a kitchen wall. Frida and Ping, her twin Siamese, relieve themselves in the tub, concealed with a flamingo pink shower curtain. Litter boxes smell, Miriam informed me. It's easier to scoop it off the porcelain. The living room has an expensive color monitor, a relic from Miriam's college major in media. The shelves in her bedroom are cluttered with fiestaware and souvenirs from World's Fairs like Bakelite salt and pepper shakers and engraved tumblers. A pile of discarded lingerie spills from the rumpled sheets of her nun's narrow futon. Because our shared evenings usually end at Maudie's, which is a block away from my apartment, weeks can go by before I find out that Miriam has taken someone home. Mickey Z owes me $10. Miriam will say, bobbing her chin at some hipster across the room at Antonio's. That's how I discover that yet another failed musician has failed her. Maybe they're scared by her memorabilia fetish or the prospect of coaching her on the Simmons drums. For all I know, she's as needy as Trish or me once she's cajoled some rocker back to her place. But the way she turns down drinks in clubs, you'd think her libido is under military jurisdiction. I slam Antonio's door behind us. Miriam and I clamber into her VW, an exceptionally beat-up, gasping bug. Thankfully, this night the ignition catches, and she smoothly backs onto the street. Miriam is safely buckled up. I abstain. If she ever asked me why, I would probably say that I trust her because she doesn't drink. So far, there hasn't been an opportunity or an accident. Miriam aims her ratty car down the road to Maudie's. Having fun? I ask. Oh yeah, she replies, earnest as usual. I had a great conversation with the manager. You know, Rocky? Yeah, you said, I comment, and loll my head against the seat back. That's good. Trish always said you were a good drummer. Surprised by my comment and a red light, Miriam nervously shifts the gear wand in neutral. She did? Oh yeah, I say, all the time. Hey, are you okay? The light snaps to green and Miriam slams the stick. Fine, she says. Yeah, I'm great. Good, I say, and turn on the car radio. A useless gesture since I know the speaker wires aren't connected. We motor along for a bit and then she says, so what else did Trish say? About your drumming? Yeah, Miriam says. That, or anything else. I'm not sure what Miriam is driving at besides Maudie's. What else had Trish said? She thought Miriam was exotic, partly because of her bruised war baby looks, partly because Miriam is so relentless about whatever strikes her fancy, whether it's a particular shade of mail-order eyeshadow or the drummer's. Miriam was as rabid a consumer as Trish and me, but unlike us, she showed little wasted motion in her life. aside from the indisputable fact that here we were in our mid to late 20s hanging out in loud rock and roll clubs. Well, I thought I had a job to do. Trish liked you, I offer. She thought you were, what was the word? Inscrutable.